Now, do you know your peacocks from your red admirals? Well, now's the time to find out, as it's the beginning of the big butterfly count 2020. Last year, it saw more than 100,000 people take part. There could be even more this summer, as the lockdown has meant so many of us have taken a closer look at our surroundings. Well, we can talk now to Chris Packham, Vice President of Butterfly Conservation, presenter of Springwatch, of course, and also to Dr Zoe Randle, Senior Surveys Officer there. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And Zoe, just give us an idea of, I mean, I've done this myself, so I know it's not that hard, but if you really don't know anything about butterflies, how do you go about it?
Well, it's a doddle, really, because we've got the bigbutterflycount.org website where you can download the ID chart of the 17 target species of butterfly and 2 species of day-flying moth. And so you've got the ID guide there handy. We've also got the Big Butterfly Count smartphone app, which you can download, and that gives you a visual guide as well. There's a photograph of each butterfly species, so you can check your ID before you enter your numbers. And it's a doddle because it just takes 15 minutes of your time to look and see the butterflies.
Is it cheating just to sit in front of a buddleia, which is known as the butterfly bush, and count what lands on that? That's what I do.
Well, that's what I generally do as well. But no, it's not cheating. You can choose your spot. You can do your big butterfly count in your garden. You can do it, see what maybe comes to your window box, your local park, churchyard, or even out just on a countryside walk. Just 15 minutes. And it's just so rewarding to sit back and relax and smell not smell the butterflies, but see the butterflies.
See the butterflies, exactly. It's a very, very relaxing activity. And Chris, do you think more people might be inclined to do it this year? Because when people were confined to gardens or only able to go outdoors in parks, so you had to look much more closely, more intensely at the nature around you.
I think a lot of people found solace and respite in nature, in their gardens, if they had them, or in those spaces where they were taking their daily exercise this spring. I think they had a bit of extra time. They probably looked at things like butterflies that they'd seen before but didn't stop to look at. And so they'd engage with these animals, and they brought joy to them, there's no doubt about that. But now it's time to give a little back, and all you need is 15 minutes of your time. It's very important that we conduct these citizen science surveys. As you mentioned, more than 100,000 people took part last year. The survey's been running for a number of years now, thanks to our generous sponsors, B&Q and the DFN Foundation. And as a consequence of that, it's generating really good data. And Butterfly Conservation are good at data management. We've got our finger firmly on the pulse of the UK's butterfly and moth populations, thanks to these sorts of projects, where essentially volunteers go into the field or their garden and count these insects. And of course, we know that many of our butterfly species are in considerable trouble. They're in decline. In order to affect proper conservation, we need to know why they're declining, where they're doing well, so on and so forth. So we need people's help, and 15 minutes isn't a lot to ask for when it's given you so much joy during lockdown this year.
And Zoe, it does vary, doesn't it, the butterfly population from year to year? I think it was very good for painted ladies last year, wasn't it? But what do you want people to keep an eye out for in particular?
Well, this year we'd like people to keep an eye out for the large white and the small white and the brimstone, because they've had a really good first generation because of the warm spring. So it could be that the second generation is bumper and it's booming, which would be fantastic news for these species. And also the small tortoiseshell, that's done really well this spring. Again, we're hoping for bumper numbers of this butterfly, and maybe it can bounce back from its 79% decline since the late 1970s.
And finally, Chris, obviously less pollution because people haven't been out and about in their cars, there have been fewer planes. So have there been benefits for nature in lockdown?
Yes, they have, very definitely. We know that the byproducts of petrochemical consumption tend to bind with the scents that flowers use to attract pollinators to them. We're not entirely sure that's applicable to butterflies. There's a strong chance it is. We know it is the case with bees. So certainly in urban and suburban areas where there was less traffic, effectively the flowers could smell better, the animals could find them, there was more pollination, more insects means more birds. I mean, the whole ecology would have been benefiting. The one downside, I will say, Martha, is that whilst lockdown was strict and people were behaving themselves and staying in, many of the surveys that would have been done in the field, not in the garden, weren't able to take place. So we're happy, what we really want now is for people to get out and catch up with all of that data collecting so that we can make a firm judgment about what's happening to these species. And of course, butterflies are one of those groups of animals which are, very popular. And in the UK, we have 59 species. And I can assure you that once you've downloaded the app or you've downloaded the sheet, once you visit bigbutterflycount.org, you'll have no trouble identifying them.
And remember those day-flying moths as well, because moths matter. Chris Packham, Zoe Randle, thank you both.